From my side, I am Mohammed Jubiarro, living worldwide as refugee came in Bangladesh.
Thanks to the wonders of technology, the internet, cell phones, and social media, we connected through Instagram. This is not all that surprising when you realize that worldwide, 97% of people have access to cell phones and only 70% have access to adequate sanitation.
I have been in Bangladesh in 2017. It has been passing 4 years as a refugee in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, refugees came more than 1 million Rohingya people are surviving in 2017.
A refugee is a person fleeing armed conflict or persecution. Their situation is so perilous that they cross national borders to seek safety in nearby countries. Refugees are recognized by the international community and have access to aid organizations. An important piece of this is that refugees are protected by international law, specifically the 1951 Refugee Convention.
I am 22 years old. I am a genocide survivor Rohingya people. The Rohingya people are the most persecuted people in the world.
The Rohingyas come from the Asian country of Myanmar, and many are from the Rakhine State, which shares a long border with Bangladesh. They have lived in the country for generations, but they have faced persecution and violence. Myanmar refuses to recognize the Rohingya as citizens, and in fact announced that there are no ethnic Rohingya in the country. Myanmar gained independence in 1948 from British colonial rule. Since then, the Rohingya have suffered discrimination and violence. Upon Myanmar's independence, Britain had promised the Muslims an autonomous state to recognize their help in World War II. However, this promise was never honored. Then in 1982, the Myanmar Buddhist majority government put a new citizenship law into place, refusing to recognize the Rohingya Muslims as an indigenous group. For decades, they had been persecuted and were slowly stripped of their rights. Since they were rendered stateless in 1982, the government of Myanmar has used the lack of nationality rights to deny Rohingya other basic rights and freedoms, imposing restrictions on movement, marriage, childbirth, and religious rights, as well as access to health, livelihoods, and education. The strongest campaign of violence occurred in 2017, where almost 1 million Rohingya were forced to flee to the nearest country of Bangladesh. During the escalation of violence in 2017, villages were attacked, people were raped, tortured, and burned alive. Many Rohingya who fled violence did so quickly and without bringing any identity cards, and those born in the camps lack access to official birth certificates or citizenship cards, rendering them stateless. For children born in the camps, they also lack access to birth certificates, which jeopardizes their future prospects, limits their freedom of movement, and traps them in a cycle of poverty and marginalization. The UN 1954 Convention relating to the status of stateless persons defines statelessness in Article 1 as a person who is not considered as a national by any state under the operation of its law. It's important to note that Bangladesh also does not recognize the citizenship of the Rohingya Muslims.
We leave from our home in Myanmar very fastly because the junta military were burning on our house and firing the gun, and that's why we leave from our home without anything except we just brought from our home only one of our clothes set. It's like as one shirt and one laundry. We could not bring anything from our home except yes. And I took one of my mobile smartphone and one my biology book and others only that. But mostly people could not bring anything because due to the Myanmar military operation on us. We had ID card in Myanmar. The Myanmar government took back it from us. Now they took back our ID card in identification, or they took it before we came here. Before we became refugee.
There are about 1 million Rohingya people living in Kutupalong Extension Camp in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, in an area of only 5 square miles. For comparison, the U.S. state of Rhode Island has a population of about 1 million people and is 1,214 square miles.
In 2017, we are surviving as refugees. We have more children but their life is going without learning anything. That's why in 2018, I have been teaching them the English language to our children because in the camp there is not any formal education and high school as well as class in the camp because it is not no high school no formal education in the camp.
Despite the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, where Article 26 cites the right to an education, the Rohingyas are being denied an education. According to the Human Rights Watch, the Rohingya children are denied a formal education by the Bangladeshi government. They are not permitted to leave the camps to enroll in school in Bangladesh, and they aren't allowed access to the Bangladesh curriculum. At the same time, the Myanmar government will not recognize the Myanmar curriculum being taught in a Rohingya refugee camp. This is also in violation of the 1989 UN Declaration of Children's Rights. Inside the camps, the Bangladesh government does not provide any formal education. The government also prohibits the United Nations and NGOs from providing a formal education in a brick-and-mortar school building.
The unfortunate reality is that the Myanmar leader, Nobel Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi, denied the decades-long ethnic cleansing against Rohingya Muslims. It remains unclear why Suu Kyi denied the ethnic cleansing, going as far as to say that the Rohingya burned down their own homes, exaggerated the atrocities, and in 2019 she went to The Hague to defend Myanmar against charges of genocide at the International Court of Justice. New evidence has come forth demonstrating that the Rohingya were systematically targeted for a genocide by the military and ultra-nationalist Buddhist monks. With the ongoing military coup, it's still unsafe for the Rohingya to return to Myanmar, though many do want to return. It was not until March 2022 when the United States recognized the Rohingya's plight to be classified as a genocide.
Yeah, but I wish that if I could go to Myanmar, it will be so good for 1 million people. But we don't want anything. We just want our right and human right, citizen card, freedom of movement. In Myanmar, we cannot move anywhere. We can't travel from one city to another city. There in Myanmar, there was not any opportunity for Rohingya people to move anywhere, to admit any university, to join any government job.
Despite their initial hospitality, tensions are rising between the Rohingya and the Bangladeshi people and government. Already scarce resources have led locals to feel that the Rohingya in the camps are being given preferential treatment. Impoverished local Bangladeshis feel jealousy over the perceived free items that the refugees receive. Without citizenship to any country, the Rohingya are trapped. A short-term solution would be to allow for economic activity within the camps like the Somalis in Dadaab. The Somalis have generated thriving businesses that support the local economy from within their camps. Both the Rohingya and Bangladeshis could benefit from allowing the Rohingya to integrate into the local economy, which would increase production power. Integration would also ease the stress on resources for locals near the refugee camps. Education access for the Rohingya could allow an increase of brain and labor power for the Bangladesh economy. And providing access to citizenship could allow the Rohingya to seek a passport and citizenship in a third country. These could be funded by the UNHCR and World Food Program, with funds that already go towards maintaining the camps. Beyond this, the global North and West should be contributing by allowing humanitarian parole into their countries, particularly the United States that has classified their plight as a genocide, and Britain, who failed to deliver on their promise of an autonomous Muslim state.
Children, please sit down. The children sat down. Daughter, root.